Chapter 6. The Discipline of Solitude. Silence is not weakness. It's power. Solitude is not isolation. It's recalibration. When you learn to be alone, you learn to be unstoppable. Most people can't handle silence because silence exposes them. Without noise, they're forced to hear their own thoughts. Without distraction, they're forced to face who they really are. But that's exactly where strength is forged, in solitude. You build your mental armor when no one's around. You sharpen your focus when no one's watching. You learn who you are when no one's clapping. That's the truth. You don't need more people. You need more peace. The world glorifies noise. Endless talking, scrolling, sharing. Everyone wants to be seen. Few want to understand themselves. But the strong move differently. They don't broadcast every move. They don't explain every silence. They disappear to evolve. Because solitude is the gym for your mind. It's where you lift the weight of your own thoughts. It's where you wrestle your fears. It's where you learn self-control. That's the key. You don't need constant validation. You need inner clarity. And clarity only comes in silence. You can't hear your intuition when the world is shouting. You can't see your path when your mind is crowded. So you must disconnect to reconnect with yourself, with your purpose, with your mission. Solitude is not punishment. It's preparation. That's where you get your edge back. That's where you rebuild after the world drains you. That's where you remember why you started. You have to understand. Solitude isn't loneliness. Loneliness is the absence of people. Solitude is the presence of yourself. That's the difference. When you fear being alone, it means you haven't built a relationship with yourself yet. You've outsourced your peace to noise. You've depended on distractions to feel alive. But the unbreakable don't fear silence, they use it. They use it to think, to plan, to grow. Because solitude is where perspective lives. In silence, you stop reacting. You start observing. You start understanding. You realize you don't need to prove anything. You realize peace was never out there. It was inside you the entire time, buried under chaos. You have a choice. Keep running from silence or start mastering it. That's the test. Because silence will show you everything you've been avoiding. Your weaknesses, your fears, your insecurities. But facing them is the only way to destroy them. You can't heal what you constantly escape. You can't grow if you refuse to sit with discomfort. Solitude forces truth. And truth is the foundation of strength. You don't become unbreakable by adding more noise. You become unbreakable by subtracting it. The discipline of solitude is about creating space. Mentally, emotionally, physically. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to feel again. It's about unplugging from the world so you can plug into yourself. Every great leader, every true warrior, every powerful mind, they all had solitude in common. Moments away from crowds. Moments of stillness before action. Moments where they went inward before going forward. Because solitude reveals what noise hides. You learn who you are when you're no longer performing. You discover your values when no one's watching. You define your direction when the world goes quiet. That's where conviction is born. That's where vision becomes clear. You can't lead others until you can lead yourself. And you can't lead yourself until you can sit with yourself. That's the hard truth most avoid, because silence feels uncomfortable at first. Feels empty. But it's not emptiness. It's space. And space is power. When your mind is silent, you can think with precision. When your emotions are still, you can act with purpose. When your environment is quiet, you can hear your calling. That's the discipline of solitude, using silence as a weapon. The undisciplined fill every moment with noise, because silence demands accountability. It forces reflection. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored. But you can't fix what you don't face. You can't strengthen what you don't examine. So you must face yourself, honestly, brutally, completely. That's where transformation begins. You don't need to be afraid of being alone. You need to be afraid of being dependent. Because dependency is weakness. And solitude kills dependency. It teaches you self-sufficiency. It reminds you that peace doesn't come from people. It comes from control. Control of your emotions. Control of your energy. Control of your mind. You have to build a life where solitude isn't an escape. It's maintenance. A daily reset for your spirit. A sacred time where you train your focus and rebuild your mental armor. Make solitude part of your routine. Wake early and sit in silence. Walk without your phone. Think without reacting. Listen without speaking. That's how you train presence. That's how you sharpen awareness. That's how you build calm that can't be broken. Because the more comfortable you become in silence, the more control you gain in chaos. That's the paradox of power. The loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. The quiet one, the one who doesn't need to prove anything, that's the one you should never underestimate. Silence is control, and control is power. Don't be afraid to disappear for a while. The world won't understand it, but it will notice the difference when you return. Because silence changes your energy, and energy speaks louder than words. You have a choice. You can drown in noise, or you can rise in peace. You can be consumed by chaos, or you can command it. The disciplined choose solitude not to escape the world, but to master it. Remember, you're not running from people. You're returning to yourself. That's the foundation of strength that never breaks. You've built consistency. Now you've built inner peace. But peace without purpose becomes stagnation. You've learned to be still. Now it's time to move with direction. You've mastered silence. Now you'll master purpose. Chapter 7, The Discipline of Purpose. Without purpose, discipline dies. Without direction, strength dissolves. You can be consistent, calm, and controlled, but if you don't know why, you'll eventually stop showing up. Purpose is the fuel behind all resilience. It's what keeps you steady when motivation disappears. It's what keeps you standing when pain hits. When you have purpose, you don't need to be pushed. You pull yourself. You move differently. You endure differently. That's the key. Pain with no purpose breaks you. Pain with purpose builds you. Most people aren't weak. They're just aimless. They have energy but no direction. Ambition but no anchor. They chase trends instead of truth. They chase validation instead of vision. But the disciplined know your life changes the moment you define your mission. You have to ask yourself, what am I building? What am I fighting for? What will still matter to me 10 years from now? Because purpose isn't found, it's forged. You build it through self-awareness, through struggle, through service. You can't think your way into purpose. You live your way into it. Every failure, every challenge, every loss. It's all trying to show you something about yourself. But most people never pause long enough to listen. Purpose doesn't scream. It whispers. And you can only hear it when your mind is quiet, when you've mastered solitude. You see the pattern now. Silence gives you clarity. Clarity gives you direction. Direction gives you strength. That's why purpose is the next level of your mental armor. Without it, you'll always be reactive. With it, you become unstoppable. Because once you know why, every how becomes easier. You stop quitting. You stop complaining. You stop needing constant results to stay consistent. You start moving with conviction, not emotion. Purpose makes you immune to distraction. Because when you're locked in on your mission, noise loses its power. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to compete with anyone. You just build. The disciplined don't chase everything, they protect their why. They guard it like treasure. Because it is treasure. Your purpose doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to mean something to you. Maybe your purpose is to build a legacy. Maybe it's to protect your family. Maybe it's to master yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that it's yours. You have a choice. To wander or to walk with intention. That's the dividing line between the average and the exceptional. The world is full of people who are busy but lost. Working hard but going nowhere. Doing more but becoming less. That's what happens when you live without direction. You mistake motion for progress. You confuse exhaustion with purpose. But purpose simplifies everything. It gives you clarity on what deserves your time, and what doesn't. Teaches you to say no to noise, no to comfort, no to meaningless distractions. Because once you know your mission, everything that doesn't serve it becomes irrelevant. That's how warriors think. That's how disciplined minds operate. Laser-focused, intentional, relentless. Purpose doesn't just tell you where to go. It tells you who to become. It shapes your habits. It shapes your mindset. It shapes your character. Every decision becomes a reflection of your purpose, not your feelings. You wake up earlier because your mission demands it. You train harder because your standard requires it. You stay calm under pressure because your purpose is bigger than your emotions. That's power. That's control. That's mastery. Purpose gives meaning to struggle, and meaning makes suffering bearable. The untrained mind avoids pain. The disciplined mind assigns purpose to it. You stop saying, "Why me?" and you start saying, "Try me." Because when you're purpose-driven, every challenge becomes fuel. Every setback becomes data. Every failure becomes feedback. That's how you turn adversity into armor. You must understand, purpose is not comfort. It's responsibility. It demands everything, but it gives everything back. When you live with purpose, your energy changes. You become anchored, unshakable, unmoved by opinions, because you finally know why you wake up. You finally know why you grind. You finally know why you endure. Purpose doesn't make life easier, it makes it meaningful. And that's what gives you strength that never breaks. So how do you build it? Start with honesty. Ask yourself what you can't live without. Ask yourself what kind of person you'd regret not becoming. Then build your life around that. Don't chase everything, commit to something. Because the moment you commit, clarity follows. Purpose doesn't reveal itself to the half-hearted. It only speaks to those who are all in. You'll know you found it when discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like devotion. When you no longer have to show up, you get to. When consistency becomes sacred. When silence feels empowering. That's purpose. This peace with direction. Purpose turns pain into power. It turns exhaustion into momentum. It turns ordinary people into legends. You don't need to have all the answers today. You just need to commit to the question, what is my mission? And then, every single day, live in pursuit of that answer. Because the search itself strengthens you. The journey itself shapes you. You'll outlast the ones who move without meaning. Because they run on excitement. You run on conviction. You don't burn out, you burn brighter. That's the difference between those who fade and those who rise. Purpose. It's the compass of the unbreakable. It's the anchor of the disciplined. It's the heartbeat of mental armor. You've built consistency. You've mastered solitude. Now, with purpose, your discipline has direction. But purpose without control can turn to obsession. And obsession without balance can destroy the peace you fought to build. So now, you must learn the next layer of mental armor. The rare skill that separates strength from chaos. You've found your why. Now you'll master your control. Chapter 8. The discipline of emotional control. You can't control life, but you can control yourself. That's the difference between those who break and those who rise. The undisciplined react. The disciplined respond. Emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering them. It's the ability to stay calm in chaos. To think when others panic. To choose clarity over impulse. That's real power. Anyone can be calm when life is easy. But emotional discipline is tested when everything goes wrong. When people disappoint you. When plans collapse. When your patience is stretched thin. That's when your training shows. Because emotions are like storms. They pass, but they can destroy everything if you don't anchor yourself. And that anchor is self-control. The world tells you to express everything. But not everything deserves expression. Maturity is knowing when silence is stronger than reaction. Discipline is knowing that peace isn't found in venting. It's found in restraint. You have a choice. To react emotionally or to respond intelligently. That's the key. Every time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen your armor. Every time you let emotion dictate your behavior, you weaken it. You can't call yourself strong if your mood controls your mission. Strength isn't loud. It's stable. Emotional control is the foundation of mental dominance. Because if you can't master your mind, the world will do it for you. People will provoke you. Life will test you. Circumstances will push your limits. But no one can make you lose control unless you hand it to them. You must protect your peace like it's oxygen. Because without peace, your discipline suffocates. Understand this. Every reaction costs energy. Every argument drains focus. Every emotional outburst delays progress. You can't afford that. You're building something bigger. You're operating on a higher standard now. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply but act deliberately. You pause before responding. You think before speaking. You move with intention, not impulse. That pause, that moment of silence is your weapon. It's where you separate instinct from intelligence. The untrained mind fires back instantly. The disciplined mind waits, observes, calculates. Because patience always outlasts anger. When you control your emotions, you control the pace of your life. You stop rushing into mistakes. You stop reacting to nonsense. You start moving with power. That's the advantage of emotional discipline. You stay composed while everyone else crumbles. And when you stay composed, you make better decisions. Decisions build destiny. Emotions are temporary. Consequences are permanent. That's why control matters. Every impulsive word you speak, every rash decision you make, it leaves a mark. You can't erase what's said in anger. You can't undo what's done in frustration. But you can prevent it by mastering the space between feeling and action. That's the battlefield most people lose. Not the outer war, but the inner one. They let irritation turn into anger. Anger into resentment. Resentment into destruction. Because they never learned control. You have to train your emotions the same way you train your body. Daily. Deliberately. Patiently. You don't control emotion through willpower. You control it through awareness. When you feel anger, notice it. Don't run from it. Don't feed it. Just observe it. That awareness breaks the cycle. Because emotion only controls you when you act unconsciously. You become unshakable not by being emotionless, but by being emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is discipline disguised as calm. It's the ability to stay kind but firm, to be passionate but patient, to feel deeply but remain grounded. That's balance. That's strength. And it's rare, because most people want to win every argument. But the wise don't need to win. They need to maintain peace. That's the higher game. You win when nothing can pull you out of alignment. You win when you can be insulted and still stay composed. You win when chaos hits, and you don't flinch. That's the mark of someone who's built true mental armor. You don't need to match energy. You elevate it. You don't need to prove control. You embody it. When someone tries to provoke you, they're looking for reaction. Don't give them access. When life tests your patience, it's refining your composure. Stay centered. Remember, every storm ends. Every wave passes. If you stay still, the chaos moves around you, not through you. That's emotional control. You must learn to be calm under fire, to breathe through pressure, to let the noise exist without letting it enter you. Because you are not what happens to you, you are how you respond. Reaction is weakness. Response is power. So next time anger rises, pause. Next time fear whispers, breathe. Next time pride tempts you, remember your mission. You don't need to prove strength through emotion. You prove it through endurance. The disciplined never let temporary feelings destroy permanent focus. They hold the line. They stay composed. They stay in control. Because the one who controls their emotions controls their life. You have a choice to be a slave to feeling or a master of focus. Choose mastery. Train it daily. Guard it fiercely. Because once you lose emotional control, you lose everything that matters: peace, progress, and purpose. Emotional control is your invisible armor. It's what keeps you calm when others crumble. It's what lets you move through fire without being burned. You've built consistency. You've mastered solitude. You've found your purpose. Now you've learned control. But emotional mastery leads to the final stage, the rarest discipline of all, detachment. The ability to let go, to stay focused without being attached, to love deeply but never depend, to give everything and still stay free. You've learned control. Now you'll learn freedom. Chapter 9: The Discipline of Detachment. To master life, you must master letting go. That's detachment, the highest form of discipline. Most people think strength is holding on. But real strength is knowing when to release. You can't be unbreakable if you cling to what's already gone. You can't move forward while dragging dead weight. Detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's seeing things for what they are, not what you wish they were. It's loving deeply, but not being destroyed when love changes. It's giving your best, but not collapsing when outcomes shift. It's showing up fully, then releasing control. That's peace. That's freedom. The undisciplined suffer twice. Once from loss, and again from resistance to loss. They fight what's already happened. They replay what they can't change. They beg for what's no longer theirs. But the disciplined know, attachment is the root of suffering. Because attachment is control disguised as care. You can care. You can commit. You can love. But you can't cling. Because clinging is fear, fear of change, fear of uncertainty, fear of standing alone. And fear keeps you stuck. You have to train yourself to let go of people, of outcomes, of identities that no longer serve you. Because the moment you let go, you make space for something greater. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't drown in feeling. It means you experience emotions without being owned by them. That's real freedom. You must understand. Everything in life is temporary. Success fades. Pain fades. People come. People go. Nothing lasts forever, not even you. So why cling? Why exhaust yourself trying to control what was never yours? That's the illusion, the belief that control equals security. But control is fragile. Acceptance is powerful. The disciplined don't chase permanence. They master adaptability. Because change is constant, and those who resist it suffer endlessly. You have a choice. Cling and crumble, or detach and evolve. That's the lesson of detachment, growth through release. You're not supposed to hold everything forever. Some chapters are meant to end. Some people are meant to teach you, not stay with you. Some versions of yourself are meant to die so stronger ones can be born. And yes, that hurts. But pain is not the enemy. Resistance is. You can't stop life from changing, but you can stop fighting it. You can stop expecting everything to stay the same. You can stop making peace conditional on outcomes. That's the shift. You stop asking, how do I make everything stay? And start asking, how do I stay strong when everything changes? That's detachment, stability within impermanence. You become the calm center in a spinning world. You become the one who can lose and still stand. You become the one who can love and still let go. That's mental armor in its purest form, indestructible peace. People misunderstand detachment. They think it means not caring. But it's the opposite. It's caring deeply without being destroyed by disappointment. It's giving fully without expecting return. It's loving completely without needing control. The strength through surrender. You don't lose by letting go. You lose by holding on too long. Because attachment turns everything heavy. The more you cling, the more you suffer. The more you release, the lighter you become. That's why detachment is freedom. Not from the world, but from the weight of needing it to go your way. You must learn to let things be. Let people be who they are. Let outcomes unfold how they must. Let life teach its lessons in its own time, because when you stop forcing, you start flowing. And when you start flowing, you find peace again. That's when power returns. The disciplined don't chase what leaves. They don't beg for closure. They don't crumble when life shifts. They observe, adjust, and keep moving forward. You're not here to control everything. You're here to control yourself through everything. That's the essence of detachment. You will lose people. You will lose things. But never lose yourself. You'll outgrow places. You'll outgrow identities. You'll outgrow the version of you that needed approval. That's evolution. Every version of you that died made room for the one you are now. And every version that dies next will make room for who you're becoming. Let that happen. Let it unfold. Stop trying to preserve the past. Start preparing for expansion. Because detachment doesn't take away meaning, it deepens it. You enjoy moments more because you're not trying to trap them. You love people more because you're not trying to own them. You live more freely because you're not trying to freeze time. That's liberation. The truth is, the strongest people aren't the ones who hold everything together. They're the ones who can let everything fall apart and still move forward. You don't need everything to last. You just need to last. That's your power. That's your armor. When you detach, you don't stop caring, you stop needing. You stop needing validation. You stop needing control. You stop needing things to make sense immediately. You trust. You surrender. You move. Because life always replaces what it removes. But only if your hands are open. So open them. Let go. Trust the process. Stand still in the storm and say, I am unshaken. That's the voice of mastery. That's the energy of someone who has become their own anchor. Remember, detachment isn't escape. It's elevation. It's what happens when you've outgrown dependence, fear, and control. When you no longer seek peace from the world because you've built it within yourself. That's the final layer of mental armor. Not needing anything to stay steady. Not fearing anything enough to fall. You've built consistency. You've mastered solitude. You've found purpose. You've gained control. And now you've learned to let go. That's freedom. That's strength. That's mental armor. You've learned detachment. Now it's time to live it. Chapter 10. The Unbreakable Mind. You've walked through the fire. You've faced the storms. You've buried versions of yourself that once begged for mercy. And now you stand different. Stronger. Sharper. Still, you didn't just survive the chaos. You trained in it. You didn't just endure pain. You evolved through it. That's what makes you dangerous now. Not your anger. Not your ego. But your peace. Because peace earned through pain is unshakable. And that is the foundation of the unbreakable mind. An unbreakable mind isn't one that never gets hurt. It's one that never stays broken. It's the mind that bends but never snaps. It's the mind that feels everything, but lets nothing control it. That's mastery. That's the summit of discipline. You see, life never stops testing you. Even now, it's sharpening new storms just for you. But the difference is you no longer fear them. You've stopped asking for an easier path. You've started asking for a stronger spine. That's what it means to be forged, not formed. You're no longer shaped by the world. You shape yourself in spite of it. You've learned that strength isn't built in calm seas. It's built when the waves won't stop hitting, and you refuse to sink. That's the unbreakable mind. Calm under pressure. Focused under chaos. Patient under delay. It doesn't matter who leaves. It doesn't matter what fails. It doesn't matter how hard life hits. You've built armor too deep to crack. The world will still test you. Through loss, betrayal, uncertainty, and time. But now you see those trials differently. They're not punishments. They're permissions. Each one invites you to rise higher, to refine your control, to return sharper. You've realized something most people never do. Peace is a choice, not a condition. You've stopped waiting for life to calm down, because you finally understand. Life doesn't calm down. You do. You've stopped waiting for the world to give you peace. Because peace given can be peace taken. But peace built can't be touched. That's what separates the ordinary from the disciplined. The ordinary react. The disciplined respond. The ordinary seek comfort. The disciplined seek growth. The ordinary chase control. The disciplined are control. That's what mental armor is, not numbness but steadiness. Not detachment from life, but mastery within it. You've trained your emotions to serve you, not enslave you. You've trained your attention to focus on what matters, not what screams the loudest. You've trained your discipline to act, not react. And now you're free. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You've learned how to breathe through pain. You've learned how to stand through storms. You've learned how to walk alone without feeling lost. That's the final test. Can you stand alone without collapsing? Can you stay calm when no one claps? Can you keep moving when no one sees you? Because when you can do that, you're done chasing validation. You've transcended the need to prove. You've become your own witness. That's the unbreakable mind, silent confidence. You don't announce your strength anymore. You embody it. You don't beg for respect. You command it, through your consistency, your calm, your control. You've learned that discipline isn't about punishing yourself. It's about protecting your future self. It's not about restriction, it's about precision. It's not about perfection. It's about power through self-mastery. You stopped letting emotions drive the car. Now they ride in the back seat, where they belong. You stopped being a slave to reaction. Now you're the strategist, the one who moves with intention. You no longer chase peace. You generate it. And that's the final shift, when you stop living in reaction and start living in rhythm. Now your mind is no longer fragile. It's forged. And everything that once threatened to break you, now trains you. Every failure becomes feedback. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every ending becomes evolution. You see the world as it is, not as your emotions color it. That's maturity. That's freedom. The unbreakable mind doesn't escape pain. It transforms it. It doesn't deny fear, it moves through it. It doesn't demand control, it masters surrender. You've learned to feel deeply and act wisely. To love fiercely, but never lose yourself. To want improvement, but never chase perfection. That's balance. That's discipline. That's peace. The world can't touch you anymore, not because you built walls, but because you built wisdom. You know how to say no calmly. You know how to walk away peacefully. You know how to rest without guilt. Because your worth is no longer tied to output. Your identity is no longer tied to validation. Your peace is no longer tied to circumstance. You've built a foundation inside you. Unmoved, unbothered, unbreakable. This is what all the pain was for. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every loss, every lonely night you questioned your purpose. It wasn't destruction, it was construction. It was the universe removing the weak layers so the real structure could stand. You, the disciplined one, the unbroken one, the steady one. You don't need to be loud anymore. Your stillness says everything. When chaos rises, you stay grounded. When noise surrounds you, you stay silent. When everything falls apart, you stay whole. That's mastery. That's the end goal. The mind that once fractured under pressure, now thrives in it. The person who once begged for control now is control. The heart that once feared endings, now embraces them as beginnings. That's the final transformation. You've built mental armor that doesn't rust, doesn't crack, doesn't fade. Because it's not made of ego or pride. It's made of discipline, awareness, and calm. You've earned this peace. You've earned this strength. You've earned this silence. Because true power doesn't need to be proven. It simply is. So now stand still. Take a breath. Look at how far you've come. You've built yourself piece by piece. Through pain, through patience, through perseverance. And now you carry a mind that cannot be broken. Because you know, the world doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. And that strength, that calm, that clarity, that's your armor now. Unshakable, unbothered, unbreakable. This is the end of the battle, but the beginning of mastery. You've built the mental armor to face anything. Now go and live like it. You are unbreakable.